Since before the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, pop culture writers, artists, scientists, and those with an abundance of imagination have hypothesized the effects of a global pandemic on our society. Conservative evidence-based scenarios to wild flights of fantasy realized in various forms of media all have sought to capture the visceral reality of emotions and consequences played out in real time during an event of this magnitude. I wonder if any of them thought they would be living through in their own lifetimes these same possible scenarios of their imaginations. And here we are in 2020, living and breathing the gravity of the real. I want to talk about the concept our collective cultures are considering right now as we watch history unfold on our screens and ponder the decisions that we will all be dealing with very shortly. It's legit freaky because, in a very real sense, the actions in the immediate will have a very direct effect on the lives of everyone in our communities for at least a generation. Let's deep dive the shit out of this. When it first started getting a grip on us, I was playing The Division on my PS4 and kind of freaking out because in real life on television, New York City was going through it for reals. And I just happened to be playing a video game that was set in a very realistic post-pandemic New York. Seeing how a worst-case scenario could play out in a massive city like New York had me pretty shook for our collective future. The treadmill our species has been on since the Industrial Revolution has just for the first time come to a sudden halt. Slam! Now, just for clarity, the Industrial Revolution, also known as the First Industrial Revolution, because there's been more than one, was the transition to new manufacturing processes in Europe and the United States from 1760 to 1840-ish. I don't know about you all, but to me, a global pandemic that spans all regions of the planet, a virus that doesn't differentiate between gender identity, color, belief systems, or borders, well, that's got my Walking Dead sense of fight or flight going off big time. Some world regions have been harder hit than others. Some areas are already starting to open up to industry again, frankly the wisdom of which seems suspect to me, but I can't pretend any great wisdom, so we'll just have to wait and see how things pan out. I guess we need to experiment with the situation to see how wise it is, this early opening of the business industry engine that we rely on so completely. We, the collective we, have, in a manner of speaking, been given the best gift ever unwrapped. The curtain of our lifestyles has been pulled back, and you and I are now seeing our existence in a plainer truth. Social distancing, sheltering in place, being home without work has had a profound effect on me. And according to the United Nations Labor Agency, as of April 8th, 2020, it has stated that illness 19 could cause 195 million job losses worldwide. My mind just sees all these ripple effects that can or will manifest as time shows us the consequences of our action or inaction. This quiet time for those without work, or this very busy time for those on the front lines of battling this virus, thank you, it has left us without distraction. The distraction of chasing our collective dreams, whatever they may have been. We are staring at the TV, watching things unfold globally. In a single news cycle, we are seeing equal parts the horror of empathizing with those losing family members or patients, and on the other side, getting the happy feels from seeing such amazing examples of humanity at its best, doing big and small kindnesses for our neighbors, whether on the block or on the world stage. We are all noticing that we are all connected, and it's just a bummer that it takes something of this magnitude to remind us of that fact. No one alive today has seen this happen before. We are all left wondering, questioning, could I just somehow surround myself with all my favorite old distractions? This gaping hole that we used to fill with consumer goods could be filled, right? A recent story penned by Julio Vincent Gambuto titled "Prepare for the Ultimate Gaslighting" inspired me partially to do this video. The links are in the description, please check them out. Gaslighting, if you aren't familiar with the term, is defined as a manipulation into doubting your own sanity. In this case, powerful forces will try to convince us all that illness 19 didn't go down as we remembered it. Billions of dollars will be spent on advertising, television, and other media to make us feel comfortable. A gazillion commercials, billboards, and memes reminding us that what we all crave is normalcy. getting back to those routines that we are all so familiar with, that perfectly brewed cup of coffee, wrapping ourselves in the cocoon of the familiar, as an example. At the one moment, lying awake at night, stressing how we're going to pay all our bills, the rent, the groceries, those bills that keep being delivered as your latest purchase is also delivered. Artie! They will work very hard to convince us that we are making far more of it than what was and is the reality of the situation. Every brand will come to our rescue to take away the uncertainty, showing us that their products are that one indispensable piece of the puzzle that will make us whole again. I guess the big question is, how do you feel about that? As a child of popular culture and a bona fide sci-fi geek, I have spent a lifetime absorbing a ridiculous amount of TV, movies, and books devoted to the genre, and I find ourselves living through a time where science fiction seems to be turning into science fact. As a collective species, we find ourselves at this moment looking, hoping, striving for the ability to venture back amongst the stars in a new permanent exploration of our solar system. And we may be the last generation who remembers life without true global satellite access anywhere on the planet. Such knowledge at everyone's fingertips. Can you imagine the explosion of opportunity through every mind on the planet being exposed to all that knowledge? It's absolutely staggering. Seeing as we find ourselves with uncertainty thrust upon us, do we run from our futures, or do we say screw it and run headlong into a future full of opportunity? Do we prefer the red pill's unpleasant truths, or do we embrace the blue pill to remain blissfully ignorant? Do we go back to exactly the same path we were on before, or do we choose the path of unknown adventure? Do we do as Neo did in the Matrix films and see how deep the rabbit hole really goes? How do we proceed? How should we rebrand our lives in this new normal of our generation? Shall we look back to the comfort of what we knew, or do we embrace this opportunity to put ourselves and humanity on a more healthy, sustainable path? We are about to be gaslit. Business and government are about to knock us sideways, wanting to return us to unconsciously following the path well-traveled, returning to the old normal, the mega push to the old mechanisms of industry, letting the decision makers of the last 260 years since modern industrialization retain the same level of control over us. Now, don't get me wrong, in the immediate future, there will be talk by politicians and business leaders about using this global pandemic to strengthen our society, and rightly so. There will be a genuine effort by all to learn from the circumstances we find ourselves in, the circumstances that we are socially distancing from. That is, until the 1% are tired of having their revenue streams blunted, of having to change or work harder for our dollar bill. This is our time. Our job not to let our attention down, to not let our attention spans get hijacked by the newest gadget or TV show. Let's impress upon our leaders that we want lasting change from the unsustainable parts of our old lives to a new, sustainable, cleaner, better choice. The last number of generations, the multi-billion-dollar advertising juggernaut has operated on the principle of finding consumers' problems and fixing it with their product. And they will shortly be gearing up to very effectively do just that again. A great number of people want to return to the way it was, and frankly, I don't blame them. The familiar can be very compelling. But we need to ask ourselves, how can we affect our immediate future? How can we use this opportunity from the great pause to strive for greater change? What do you want to keep, and what do you want to kick to the curb? Seeing humanity come together with such examples of generosity and grace, such selflessness during this time has been really inspiring, and we need to harness those pinnacles of human ingenuity and compassion to guide ourselves to a culture of truly learning from and remembering the trials of our past while looking forward to our collective futures. In the real sense, this planet and all we do on it is our children's. It's not about us. It's about making damn sure our kids' lives are better than ours were. Uplifting our understanding of education, technology, science, climate, culture, and compassion. These are the benchmarks we need to be passing forward to the next generations. I would hope we collectively remind ourselves to breathe the fresh air. Perhaps embrace a cleaner lifestyle. Hell, this is our chance for reals. Seriously. With this pause, everyone has been shook. So there would be no better time to start anew, don't you think? So many things are on the verge of making this world a better place. Let's explore this. Please leave your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, clicking the notification button, and becoming a Patreon member. I greatly appreciate your help and comments as I grow this channel.